Welcome back, Coinology. The story of a single copper-colored coin begins in a year that changed the way America looked at money forever. 1983. The year of the 1980s was thick with innovation, optimism, and quiet transitions happening behind the scenes of the U.S. Mint. The Lincoln cent, a tiny 1-cent coin, almost invisible to most pockets, carried within it the history of a nation and the hidden potential of unimaginable value. Among billions of ordinary coins that clinked and rattled in jars, one coin from Denver would rise above all, the 1983 penny. It was supposed to be just another small circle of metal, but as the years passed, whispers began spreading through the numismatic world: there exists a penny worth millions, maybe billions. And collectors began to listen. Imagine holding that coin between your fingers, just a cent, weighing barely more than 2 grams, yet carrying a legacy that began long before 1983. The story of this coin starts with Abraham Lincoln himself. His image first appeared on the U.S. 1-cent coin in 1909, commemorating the centennial of his birth. Victor David Brenner, an immigrant engraver from Lithuania, designed a portrait so dignified and enduring that it would remain for more than a century. That same portrait, with Lincoln's calm, thoughtful face, continued to appear through every change in American history, through wars, recessions, technological revolutions, and even the radical shift of coin composition. By 1983, the penny had already undergone a dramatic transformation. The year before, in 1982, the U.S. Mint had faced a crisis. Rising copper prices meant that producing a single penny actually cost more than 1 cent. It was no longer profitable to mint copper coins. So the Mint decided to change the formula. The new pennies, including those minted in 1983, were made mostly of zinc, 97.5% zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper only for appearance. The transition was meant to be seamless, but in the world of minting, even the smallest mistake can create legends. That's where the 1983 D coin's mystery begins. The D mint mark, stamped beneath the year on the coin's obverse, indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the busiest and most efficient mints in the world. Millions of coins poured out of its presses every day. But occasionally, something went slightly off. In the case of the 1983 D penny, some collectors believe that a few were accidentally struck using the old copper planchets from 1982 instead of the new zinc ones. That means that while most 1983 D pennies weigh about 2.5 grams, a few rare ones weigh around 3.1 grams, the same as the older, heavier copper cents. To a collect almost mythical, as if they carry within their metallic structure a secret from an era that refused to die. Numismatists, those who study and collect coins, began weighing 1983 pennies, one after another, searching for that telltale sign of copper. And when the first few verified examples appeared, the coin world erupted with excitement. It was proof that accidents of history can hide in plain sight. The ordinary 1983 D penny has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters and a smooth edge. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln faces right, with the word liberty to his left and the year 1983 just below his chin. The mint mark D sits quietly beneath the date. Sign connects history and identity. Lincoln, the man who held a divided nation together, symbolizes unity and endurance. The Lincoln Memorial, completed in 1922, immortalizes that unity in stone and marble. And together, they form a story that fits perfectly on a coin barely the size of a thumbnail. But the 1983 D cent added a twist to that timeless symbol. It became the coin that challenged collectors to look closer, to weigh carefully, to question what they thought they knew. In those early years after 1983, most people didn't pay attention. The new zinc pennies felt a little lighter, but who notices the difference between 3.1 grams and 2.5? They looked the same color, same shine. It wasn't until years later that researchers, hobbyists, and treasure hunters began to realize that some 1983 D cents were special. The discovery wasn't made overnight. It came from meticulous curiosity, from people who had the patience. After modern U.S. coins ever made, coin grading companies like PCGS and NGC began receiving submissions from collectors hoping they had found one. Out of billions, only a handful are known to exist. That scarcity turned the coin into legend. Its estimated value began to climb, from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands, then into the hundreds of thousands, and finally into the realm of speculative fantasy, where collectors whispered numbers like 2 million, 10 million, even billions, as myths spread across forums, YouTube videos, and coin expos. The idea that a 1-cent coin could be worth more than the GDP of small nations captured imaginations worldwide. And in that exaggeration lies something more meaningful: the human fascination with rarity, with hidden treasure, with the possibility that something ordinary might secretly be extraordinary. Every coin tells a story of the hands it's passed through. The 1983 D penny, struck in Denver, could have traveled across generations. It might have bought a stick of gum in 1983, fallen between sofa cushions in 1989, been dropped on a gas station floor in 1995, or rediscovered in an attic jar in 2020. Each moment adds invisible fingerprints to its surface. Under magnification, one can see the faint scratches of circulation, a diary of its travels. And yet, despite that wear, a coin's value doesn't only depend on condition. It depends on what it represents. The copper 1983D represents an error, an accident, a bridge between eras, between the age of copper and the age of zinc. Its weight, that tiny number on a digital scale, is its secret code. A normal 1983D zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. But the copper variety, if one exists in your pocket, will weigh 3.1 grams. That 0.6 gram difference is the fingerprint of fortune. Many collectors today own precision gram scales just to weigh pennies, hoping to find one of these elusive treasures. The excitement of discovery keeps them going, not just for profit, but for the thrill of connecting with history through metal and time. The market for such coins fluctuates wildly. While it's not realistic to expect every rare penny to be worth billions, the legend of the $2.5 billion coin persists as part of modern folklore. It reflects something deep in human nature, the dream of luck, the belief that buried among the ordinary might be the miraculous. And when a 1983D copper cent sells for tens of thousands of dollars in auctions, that dream gains just enough truth to keep it alive. To some, it's a myth. To others, it's motivation. To all, it's a story worth telling. Behind that story is also the incredible technology of minting. The Denver Mint, operating since 1906, uses high-speed presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute. Each coin starts as a blank metal disc, or planchet. These planchets are fed into the coining press, where immense pressure, over 60 tons, imprints the design onto both sides. Normally, everything goes smoothly. But when leftover copper planchets from the previous year accidentally mix with new zinc ones, history is made. Such errors are unintentional, but their rarity gives them enormous value. The fact that a few slipped through in 1983 makes those coins living relics of the mint's transition period. Numismatic scholars have studied the 1983D cents under microscopes, X-ray fluorescence analyzers, and metallurgical tests. They've confirmed that a few are indeed 95% copper, just like pre-1982 coins. This proves that mistakes did happen. A few old planchets somehow survived the changeover. For historians, that's fascinating. For collectors, it's thrilling. And for dreamers, it's proof that even the smallest objects can carry immense worth. The allure of the 1983D penny isn't only in its rarity, it's also in what it symbolizes, the crossroads of eras. It was the first full year after America's penny became mostly zinc. It was also a time when computers were entering homes, when technology was reshaping the world. The penny's transition from heavy copper to light zinc mirrored that societal shift, from material solidity to digital abstraction, from old-world metal to new-age efficiency. And yet, amid that progress, the copper 1983D reminds us that the old ways don't vanish easily. They leave traces, echoes, tiny artifacts of resistance. In this way, the coin becomes almost poetic, a 3.1 GRA. The deeper you go into the world of coins, the more you realize that every tiny variation, every faint imperfection, tells a story that most people will never see. The 1983D penny is no exception. By now, the mystery has turned into a phenomenon. Collectors speak of it in whispers, forums light up with speculation, and treasure hunters around the world still empty coffee cans filled with old change, hoping lightning might strike twice. Somewhere in those billions of reddish-brown coins may lie the next great discovery, a cent that could rewrite modern coin history. To understand why the 1983D penny commands such fascination, you have to step inside the U.S. Mint itself, the heart of America's coin-making machinery. Picture vast halls echoing with metallic rhythm, presses pounding like thunder, molten metal pouring into strips that glisten in the light. Denver's Mint has always been about precision, efficiency, and volume. Every planchet, those smooth, blank discs of metal, passes through strict controls. But in 1982 and 1983, the Mint was facing an enormous logistical challenge. It had to swap out copper for zinc nationwide while production never stopped for a single day. The copper planchets were supposed to be gone, melted down, replaced by lighter zinc blanks. Yet in every great transition, a few remnants always escape, and when those copper blanks were accidentally fed into the coining presses in Denver in 1983, history quietly shifted course. Most of the staff didn't even know. The machines didn't protest, they simply struck coins as usual, 1 cent at a time. Somewhere, a few coins left the factory looking identical to all the rest, but carrying within them a difference so small it could only be measured on a scale. That weight became their secret signature, their invisible proof of uniqueness. Years later, when collectors started noticing that a few 1983D cents felt heavier, the news spread like a spark on dry grass. Stories multiplied, some exaggerated, some based on genuine discovery. One verified example in true copper composition caused an earthquake in the numismatic world. It was authenticated, graded, encapsulated, and displayed like a crown jewel. Auction rooms buzzed, and newspapers described it as a miracle of modern minting. Its sale price climbed, not just for its rarity but for its narrative, a story of survival against the odds, a copper ghost haunting the zinc age. But what makes value in the coin world isn't only rarity. It's condition, provenance, and demand. The 1983 penny touches all three. Most survivors, if they exist, will show where they were spent, circulated, forgotten. Yet if an uncirculated copper 1983 emerges, bright as the day it left the press, collectors will fight for it. Grading services assign numbers MS60, MS65, MS67, each step magnifying worth. A single grade point can multiply a coin's market value several times over. In this race for perfection, microscopes become tools of fortune over time. The myth of the 1983 cent grew beyond numismatics. It became a kind of cultural riddle. People began to ask, how could something so small be worth so much? Why would a penny command prices that rival masterpieces of art? The answer lies not just in metal, but in meaning. The penny represents the last whisper of an older America, solid, tangible, weighted with copper and tradition. When that weight changed, something symbolic changed too. The copper 1983 became an accidental time capsule, a reminder of the tangible world in an age that was rapidly turning digital. As the legend grew, so did speculation. Internet videos claimed hidden stashes, mysterious government vaults, secret hoards waiting to be uncovered. Some claimed the value had reached $2.5 billion, a number not grounded in auction records but in human imagination. Yet even exaggerated myths have a purpose. They keep curiosity alive. They make people look closer at the ordinary, question what they thought they knew, and maybe, just maybe, rediscover wonder in the smallest things. Meanwhile, in numismatic circles, researchers kept their focus on facts. They measured densities, analyzed alloys, compared strike qualities, and traced mint records. They discovered that not all 1983 coins were identical even among zinc examples. Some had slight doubling in the lettering, Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself, caused by minute shifts in the die alignment. These doubled die varieties added another layer to the coin's intrigue. Even without copper composition, a doubled 1983 could be worth hundreds or thousands, depending on clarity and condition. It showed how imperfections could turn into signatures of beauty. But let's step back again and look at the coin itself, not as an object but as a piece of art. The front, Lincoln's portrait, is more than just a face. Victor David Brenner sculpted it from life masks and photographs, giving it the gravity of marble. The right-facing profile has watched over American pockets for more than a century, through wars and technological leaps, through joy and depression alike. Every scratch across Lincoln's cheek, every nick on the field beside Liberty, tells a human story. The reverse, the Lincoln Memorial, reflects the nation he preserved. Each of its 12 visible columns represents a symbolic link between the states, a miniature monument to unity struck in billions. In 1983, when these coins rolled off presses, the U.S. was in the middle of a cultural crossroads. The space shuttle program was young, the computer revolution was beginning, and yet the penny, that humble piece of the 19th century, endured. It connected the new age to the old, bridging technology and tradition. That's why even now, collectors aren't just chasing metal, they're chasing memory. Imagine the scene at a modern coin show. Glass cases line the tables, bright lights glinting off thousands of coins. A collector leans over a microscope, a scale in his hand. He weighs a penny, 2.5 grams. Another, 2.49. Then, suddenly, one lands at 3.10. The air thickens. Conversations pause. Could it be? Every collector dreams of that heartbeat moment when possibility becomes reality. That's the emotion the 1983 penny embodies: suspense, discovery, revelation. Stories have surfaced of people finding treasures in old jars, inherited boxes, dusty piggy banks untouched since the 80s. One man weighed a jar of pennies from his grandfather's estate and found a copper 1983 among them, authenticated and sold for a life-changing amount. Whether true or embellished, such tales fuel the collective imagination, and copper and zinc isn't only weight. It's also sound, color, and longevity. Tap a copper penny on a hard surface, and it rings with a bright, musical tone. A zinc gray spots where the copper plating wears away. So even without scales or analyzers, experienced eyes can sense the difference. But to be sure, nothing replaces the precision of a gram scale, the ultimate judge of authenticity. As word spread across the internet, videos showed viewers how to test their own pennies, weigh them, examine mint marks, check for die cracks, study the date. Each tutorial added to the collective treasure hunt. Some people even started buying sealed bags of 1983D pennies by the thousands, hoping to strike luck. For every 1,000 coins searched, maybe one would show proprietary. The world may call it worth 1 cent, but the human imagination multiplies that worth beyond measure. The story transforms it from change into legend. Today, the official market values remain grounded. A normal 1983D zinc penny is worth a cent in circulation, maybe a few dollars in pristine uncirculated con museums, and historians view the 1983D as a teaching tool. It shows how minor oversights can become cultural phenomena. It proves that precision isn't just a technical goal but a human endeavor, one that occasionally falters, producing beauty in imperfection. Every misstruck coin, every double die, every leftover copper hip to legacy.so. The next time you hold a penny, take a moment to really look. The raised letters, the texture of Lincoln's coat, the tiny memorial on the back, each detail speaks of history's endurance. Maybe it's zinc, maybe copper. Maybe it's worth a cent, or maybe it's priceless. The difference isn't just metal, it's perception. The 1983D Lincoln cent teaches us that sometimes the boundary between ordinary and extraordinary is only a fraction of a gram, and as the lights dim on another generation of collectors, the legend refuses to fade. Young enthusiasts weigh their first pennies, dreaming of discovery. Old experts share their stories, remembering the thrill of the hunt. Somewhere, perhaps still hidden in a drawer, lies another copper 1983D waiting to surface. Its face tarn. The legend of the 1983D penny does not fade, it only deepens with time. Like an echo through decades, the small, reddish coin continues to captivate hearts and minds, turning ordinary collectors into seekers of hidden truth. It's strange how something so small, barely the size of a fingertip, can hold such weight in imagination. Yet that's what this coin has done, transformed from a simple object of commerce into a timeless artifact of mystery. Every story has layers. The surface story is easy: a 1-cent coin accidentally struck in copper instead of zinc. But beneath that, there's something more profound, a reflection of human longing, of the idea that perfection and rarity can be born from imperfection. The copper 1983D cent is proof that even mistakes can become masterpieces. As years passed, coin collectors began forming communities, connected not by geography but by passion. Internet forums, conventions, and auction houses turned into modern temples of numismatics. Tables covered with velvet held slabs of plastic, inside them, treasures encased, sealed, labeled, 1983D, mint state 67, red, copper composition, verified. Each word mattered. Each letter represented hours of examination, testing, weighing, comparing. Authenticating a 1983D copper cent wasn't just science, it was art. Behind every graded coin, there's a story of human patience. When the first few copper examples were confirmed, the shockwaves rippled across the coin world. Articles appeared in Coin World, Numismatic News, and across television specials that captured the astonishment of both experts and beginners. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stacksbowers reported unprecedented interest. One coin sold for tens of thousands, another for more, the exact numbers varying with grade, tone, and provenance, but all carried the same emotional value, a sense of discovery. To collectors, the 1983D became what gold was to miners, a dream. The thought that a rare, life-changing treasure might be hiding in a jar of loose change inspired a new wave of coin hunting. Families sat around kitchen tables with magnifiers and digital scales, children learning to weigh coins, parents explaining mint marks. For many, the hunt wasn't about profit, it was about connection to history, to curiosity, to hope, and there's something poetic about that image. Generations gathered around the smallest artifact of their economy, rediscovering wonder in the ordinary. The penny became not just a symbol of value, but of heritage. It carried within it the echo of Lincoln's promise, that even the smallest among us can hold immense worth. Now imagine, for a moment, one of those coins on the day it was struck. The press descends with tremendous force, over 60 tons, imprinting Lincoln's face with absolute clarity. The metal flattens, expands, and cools in a fraction of a second. Thousands more follow, indistinguishable to the naked eye. Yet one of them is different, a copper planchet, a survivor from the past, hiding among zinc companions. No one notices. It rolls down the conveyor belt, falls into a bin, mixed with thousands of others, bagged, boxed, and shipped to banks. From there, it enters circulation, into the chaos of commerce, into pockets, drawers, and cash registers. That single act of survival turns the coin into a metaphor. It's about resilience, about how something small and forgotten can endure unnoticed until rediscovery gives it new meaning. In that sense, the copper 1983D is not just a mint error, it's a symbol of persistence through change. The coin's design reinforces that symbolism. Lincoln's portrait remains steadfast, eyes forward, expression solemn. His image doesn't age, doesn't fade with time. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands solid, its columns straight, its symmetry precise. The Latin phrase e pluribus unum reminds us, out of many, one. And yet, out of billions of zinc pennies, one copper survivor stands apart. It's almost poetic irony, the national motto itself embodied in the coin's existence. Collectors often say that finding a copper 1983D is like finding lightning in a bottle. There are billions of 1983Ds. Estimates suggest over 6.4 billion struck that year, yet only a handful in copper. That ratio alone transforms it into one of the rarest post-1960s US coins. Rarity drives fascination, but rarity alone doesn't create legends. It's the combination of story, symbolism, and timing. The coin appeared during a transitional year, a perfect storm of change, error, and mystery. It was a time when technology was evolving, when America was redefining its identity, when even the smallest mistakes were preserved in metal. As collectors pursued the legend, myths grew around it. Some claimed secret hoards in forgotten mint vaults, others spoke of unrecorded test strikes. A few even suggested that the mint intentionally struck a small batch of copper 1983Ds as a quiet farewell to the old composition, though official records deny it. Still, in the numismatic world, uncertainty fuels fascination. The lack of proof makes the hunt all the more thrilling, and then came the great auction years. As verified examples surfaced, their sales reached heights never imagined for modern pennies. Thousands of dollars for a coin once traded for a gumball. That kind of leap captures headlines and imaginations alike. Each auction added to the coin's mythology. Each headline, "Rare 1983D penny sells for small fortune," pushed more people to search their own coins, hoping to join the ranks of lucky finders. What's interesting is how the coin's value became less about economics and more about psychology. People weren't just buying metal, they were buying a story. They were buying a connection to history, a piece of mystery, a ticket to belonging in a community that values detail and discovery. The copper 1983D transformed into a symbol of hope, that life still hides surprises, that fortune might smile on anyone, anywhere, even in the palm of their hand. From a scientific point of view, metallurgical analysis confirmed the authenticity of copper variants through spectrographic testing, showing 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc, identical to pre-1982 cents. This data silenced skeptics and cemented the coin's place in history. But science could not explain its mystique. Only story could. The coin's rumored $2.5 billion value exists not in ledgers but in the collective imagination of the people. It's an exaggeration that speaks to the human love of wonder, an echo of the same imagination that once valued tulip bulbs and postage stamps as fortunes. The legend endures because it taps into something universal, the desire to find meaning, luck, and destiny in ordinary things. The penny becomes a mirror reflecting that dream. Today, digital currencies rise and physical cash declines, but the penny, especially this penny, reminds us of touch, of weight, of texture. There's something grounding about holding history between your fingers, feeling its cold surface, knowing it has survived decades of circulation. The 1983D copper cent stands as a monument to permanence in an age of impermanence. As the years roll on, the number of collectors only grows. Young people, inspired by stories of rare finds, enter the hobby. Schools teach coin collecting as history. YouTube channels dedicated to coin hunting gain millions of views, turning simple discoveries into viral sensations. Somewhere, a teenager films a video weighing a penny, sees 3.1 on the scale, gasps, and uploads it, reigniting the global fascination once more. The legend renews itself every generation, transforming fact into folklore, folklore into faith, and so, the 1983D penny's journey continues, not just across time, but across culture. It lives in museums, collections, dreams, and imaginations. It is more than metal, it is memory forged into copper and zinc. Each coin tells a different story, yet all trace back to that same Denver press in 1983, where man, machine, and chance collided to create histories somewhere, maybe even now, in a handful of change at a gas station. A copper 1983D rests unnoticed, its glow faint, its edges worn, its destiny waiting. And when it is finally found, its story will start all over again. Time moves forward, but the tiny 1983D Lincoln cent refuses to be forgotten. It endures like a heartbeat inside the history of American money, a faint rhythm beneath the noise of digital economies and vanishing cash registers. Decades have passed since that moment in the Denver Mint when the presses struck copper against steel and unknowingly created legend. Yet the legend still grows. In every story about this coin there is always a pause, a hush, before the words worth millions are whispered. It is that pause that gives the coin its power. The space between disbelief and wonder. Because how could 1 cent, light enough to balance on a fingertip, carry the weight of 2.5 billion dreams? Collectors call it destiny. Historians call it anomaly. Philosophers might call it the poetry of imperfection. But whatever name we give it, the 1983 D copper cent represents the same human instinct that built civilizations: the search for meaning in matter. The desire to look at the ordinary and see possibility shining through it. Imagine a collector late at night under the yellow glow of a desk lamp. A digital scale hums softly beside stacks of coins. He has been searching for years. Thousands of pennies have passed through his fingers. Most weigh 2.5 grams zinc, predictable, disappointing. But then one lands on the scale, 3.1 grams. For a second he doubts his eyes. The number stays. 3.1, the pulse quickens. He turns the coin under the light. Lincoln's profile stares back with calm authority. Beneath the date, a single D. He knows what it might mean, yet he also knows that between possibility and proof lies a canyon of uncertainty. Yet he places it carefully in a plastic sleeve, the way an archaeologist might cradle a relic from an ancient tomb. The next day he sends it to be tested. Weeks pass. Then comes the message: composition verified. 95% copper. The ordinary has become extraordinary. That moment, multiplied by every dreamer who has ever hoped for such a discovery, is why the legend never dies. The 1983 D penny is more than a collector's item. It is a symbol of hope disguised as metal. Through the 1990s and early 2000s, as technology reshaped everything, the penny remained stubbornly simple. While screens glowed and stock prices blinked in digital light, the coin's weight still had to be felt in a hand. That contrast gave the copper 1983 D its deeper resonance. It reminded people that real value can still be touched, that history is not a file on a server but a circle of metal carried through generations. The Denver Mint itself stands like a cathedral of machines. Within its walls, rivers of coins still pour forth, each one struck with mathematical precision. Yet somewhere in those memories of molten copper and clattering presses lingers the whisper of 1983, the year when a few pieces of the past refused to yield. The workers who fed the planchets into those presses are long retired, their names forgotten, but their unintentional creation endures, stamped into eternity. To hold such a coin is to hold a paradox. It is at once common and cosmic. Its face value is 1 cent, yet its story measures in billions. It asks a question that echoes beyond numismatics: what determines worth? Is it the material, the rarity, the story, or the belief of those who cherish it? Some say money has meaning only because we agree it does. But the 1983 D copper cent defies that simplicity. Its worth was not decreed, it was discovered. Its value emerged from curiosity itself, the most human of all currencies. Across the world, collectors trade images, weights, and theories. Some claim to have found others. Some chase rumors of a hoard hidden in forgotten rolls sealed since the 80s. Each new claim rekindles the collective imagination. For every false alarm, there is still that glimmer of what if. The legend feeds on possibility, not certainty, and while economists dismiss it as myth, storytellers understand, myths endure because they reveal truth in a different form. The 1983 D penny's billion-dollar legend is not about numbers, it is about belief. It shows how people long for miracles that fit in the palm of a hand. In museums, under glass, a few verified examples rest under spotlights. Visitors lean close, peering through layers of reflection to glimpse the gleam of history. Children press their faces to the glass, eyes wide, listening as guides tell of a coin that escaped time itself. Somewhere in those young minds, a spark ignites, the same spark that once led a nation to mint copper into art and call it a cent. Outside, in the world of wallets and vending machines, pennies still move unnoticed. They buy nothing of consequence, yet they connect every generation. Each one is a tiny ambassador of memory. Each carries Lincoln's steady gaze through the chaos of modern life. And among them, maybe only a few, maybe only one, carry the weight of pure copper and accidental immortality. The supposed value of $2.5 billion is an exaggeration born of awe, yet in a way, it is not wrong. Because value is not always measured in markets. Sometimes it is measured in wonder. If a single coin can make millions of people look closer, learn history, dream of discovery, then its impact is indeed worth billions. In imagination, in education, in shared curiosity. As the documentary of this coin's life nears its middle chapters, one truth becomes clear: the 1983 D penny is not a story about money. It is a story about meaning. About how, in the grand machinery of progress, the smallest imperfections remind us we are human. It teaches that sometimes the greatest treasures are not those we create on purpose, but those we stumble upon by accident and choose to cherish. In the silence of a collector's room, the coin rests. Light glances off its surface, revealing faint scratches, tiny dents, the subtle aging of copper exposed to decades of air. It is not flawless, yet that is exactly why it matters. Flaws are fingerprints of history. Each mark proves it lived, and so the legend continues, carried on by every voice that tells it. From mint workers to historians, from collectors to children just beginning to understand what value means, the 1983 D Lincoln cent remains a bridge between worlds, between fact and fable, economy and emotion, weight and worth. Someday, perhaps, another will surface. Perhaps it already sits in a forgotten drawer, waiting for new hands to recognize its story. And when that happens, the cycle will begin again: disbelief, testing, confirmation, wonder. Another small miracle in metal, the 1983 D copper penny is not just a coin, it is a reminder carved in copper that even in an age obsessed with speed and technology, patience, curiosity, and belief still have value beyond price. Night falls quietly across the city, and somewhere in a small corner of a home filled with books, old photographs, and the faint hum of memory, a man sits with a magnifying glass in hand. The light from the desk lamp glows against copper, and for a fleeting second, it feels as though the entire world is reflected on the surface of that single coin. The year reads 1983. The tiny D rests below it like a whisper of the past. He is not alone. Every collector who has ever searched, every historian who has ever written, every dreamer who has ever hoped to uncover something extraordinary, they are all here, woven invisibly into this moment. It is as if the story of the 1983 D penny has never belonged to one person, it belongs to everyone who has ever believed that hidden miracles still exist in ordinary places. The coin itself cannot speak, yet it holds within its metal a language older than words. It speaks through weight, through the subtle difference between 2.5 and 3.1 grams, between zinc and copper, between mass-produced and miraculous. That tiny difference has moved mountains of curiosity and rivers of imagination. History remembers 1983 as a year of transition, a turning point when the US Mint shifted from copper to zinc to save money. But history rarely tells of the moments of hesitation, of human error, of the unrecorded hands that fed the presses. Those invisible seconds when one batch of copper planchets, intended for another time, found their way beneath the Denver Mint's dies. A heartbeat of inattention, and eternity changed its course. That is how legends are born, not from planning, but from accident, from imperfection, from the unpredictable nature of human craft. The 1983 D cent became a quiet rebellion against uniformity, a reminder that even in a world ruled by machines, the human element still leaves its unpredictable mark. When word of the first confirmed copper 1983 D cent spread, the numismatic world trembled. Newsletters became treasure maps. Auction houses glowed with anticipation. Collectors began to dream again. Because for every one coin that surfaces, there may be others hidden, waiting, tucked away in jars, drawers, or the forgotten folds of time. And yet, the value of this coin, sometimes whispered as billions in exaggerated awe, is not truly measured in money. Its real worth is emotional, historical, almost spiritual. It has become a mirror for human longing, proof that even the smallest fragment of history can ignite a global story. Picture a child holding a penny for the first time, its edges smoothed from decades of exchange. They look at Lincoln's face and ask, "Why is he here?" And someone answers, "Because he reminds us of what we once believed in: freedom, perseverance, equality." The child nods, turns the coin over, and sees the Lincoln Memorial. A temple of memory, stamped into metal, passed from hand to hand, from generation to generation. That is the power of the 1983 D cent. It turns memory into motion, history into heartbeat. Over the years, stories have emerged of people finding them in loose change, unknowing at first, only to discover later they were holding a fortune. Some never realized their discovery. Others sold them quietly, their names lost in the blur of auctions and whispers. But the legend remains, growing each time someone dares to believe. As we move deeper into the age of digital currencies, the penny becomes almost symbolic, a relic of touch in a world of screens. And yet, perhaps that is why the 1983 D cent story strikes such a chord. It reminds us that not everything valuable can be virtual. Some treasures must still be held, felt, and weighed in the palm of the hand. Collectors often describe the sound of coins as music, a soft metallic symphony that carries the echo of centuries. The 1983 D cent adds its own note to that song, one that vibrates with mystery and grace. It sings of human error turned into wonder, of smallness transformed into grandeur. Think of it, a coin that cost a single cent to make, now the subject of obsession, reverence, even philosophical reflection. What gives it this power? Perhaps it is that it represents hope itself, the belief that ordinary things can still surprise us. Somewhere, right now, another person sorts through a box of pennies. They may not know it, but they are part of the same story. Their fingertips glide over decades of American history. They hear the faint rattle of copper and zinc. And maybe, just maybe, one of those coins carries the impossible weight of destiny. If they are lucky, they will place it on a scale. The numbers will flicker, 3.1 grams. They will lean closer. Their breath will catch. They will feel the same thrill that countless others have felt before, the electric spark of discovery, and when they realize what they've found, they'll understand something deeper than price or profit. They'll understand that history is alive. That even the smallest piece of it can still whisper across time, calling us to look closer, to care more, to remember that meaning often hides in plain sight. The legend of the 1983 D Lincoln cent is not ending. It is evolving. Each new finder, each new believer, adds another verse to its song. And someday, when the world looks back on this era, they will not remember it just for the markets or the machines, they will remember it for the stories that kept wonder alive. The copper cent stands as proof, even in a world that values speed over patience and quantity over quality, there is still room for miracles. For 1 cent to mean more than a fortune. For 1 mistake to become a masterpiece. For 1 story to remind us that rarity is not only in metal, but in the hearts that recognize it, and so, beneath the soft glow of lamplight, the coin rests, silent, shining, eternal. A symbol of discovery. A reminder that even in the smallest things, the universe hides its greatest mysteries. The ripple begins small. A few coins circulate, struck quietly in a mint, picked up by countless hands, forgotten as soon as they leave the register. But over time something extraordinary happens. The coin becomes not just an object, but an idea. The 1983 D penny, especially in its rare copper composition form, enters the language of collectors as a symbol of possibility. It drives conversations in coin shows, internet forums, numismatic newsletters. People weigh them. They photograph them. They dream of finding one. The coin is no longer just a cent, it's a quest. Collector culture changes when the improbable becomes tangible. The discovery that a few coins from 1983 might be struck on the older copper planchets upends assumptions. It becomes acceptable, even thrilling, to dig through rolls of pennies, sort through circulation pieces, to use a precise gram scale as an instrument of revelation. Online videos instruct viewers, weigh your 1983 D pennies. If you get around 3.1 G instead of 2.50 G, you might have something. Reddit +2 Just Answer +2 The culture shifts from casual collecting, I like old coins, to investigative, I might be holding a hidden treasure. In the modern coin market, the 1983 D copper variety began attracting serious attention. Auction records confirm that a coin struck on a copper planchet and correctly authenticated sold for nearly $30,000 including buyer's premium. Numismatic news +1 that establishes legitimacy. This is not mere hearsay, not just mythical talk in a coin club. It becomes a real corner of the market. Error coins, transitional coins, off-metal strikes. The market begins categorizing, grading, sliding scales of value. Condition matters. Provenance matters. Composition matters. A coin weighing 2.5 G remains essentially face value unless exceptional. But one weighing 3.1 G, confirmed copper, places its belonging to a rare category, hence the premium. But along with legitimate market growth comes risk, misattribution, hype, misunderstanding. Many coins circulate that look different but upon closer examination turn out to be the standard zinc core variety. On Reddit, for example, a collector posted that a coin that his friend believed was a rare 1983 D copper is not a 1983 D copper penny, this is a zinc penny. It is worth 1 cent. Reddit. These cautionary notes become part of the collector culture too. Weigh carefully, check authenticity, expect the unexpected, and expect disappointment more often than jackpot. In parallel, the psychology of value grows more complex. For decades, coins were valued by metal content, rarity, condition. But the 1983 D copper penny sits in the intersection. It has almost negligible copper value, far less than the thousands asked, but huge collector value. That means value is no longer about intrinsic metal cost, it's about story, rarity, demand, emotion. The coin becomes a mirror of values. What do we consider precious? Is it only gold and silver, or is it story, anomaly, human fascination? Collectors begin treating the coin not simply as a collectible but as a symbol. They write articles. They film videos. Why weighing your 1983 pennies could make you rich. YouTube +1 The culture of error coins blossoms, off metal, wrong planchet, double die. These phrases enter everyday coin hunting conversation. The 1983 D copper penny becomes a flagship case, a modern coin, recent, still theoretically discoverable unlike centuries-old rarities locked in museums. That accessibility makes the phenomenon even more democratic. Anyone who holds a roll of 1983 coins might participate in the story. In the coin market, this has 2 major effects. First, liquidity. Some of these coins trade at auction, get slapped by grading services, Professional Coin Grading Service, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, become documented. Their sale prices provide anchors for value. For example, the blog of Stacksbauer's Galleries described one of the finest known wrong planchet 1983 cents. Stacksbauer's second, speculation. Some collectors start buying rolls, focusing on weight, composition tests, hoping for the 1 in 1,000 find. That speculative element creates a submarket within the broader coin hobby. Beyond market and culture, the story prompts deeper reflection. What is value? Why do humans hunt for oddities in metal discs? How does a 1-cent coin acquire such mythic status? The 1983 D-copper penny prompts us to ask, is rarity created by production error or by human recognition? The coin did not choose to be rare, it inherited it by circumstance. Yet humans bestowed value upon it. In that way, the coin becomes philosophical. It is not only about metal, mint marks, weights, it's about meaning. Perhaps most powerful is the idea of hope embedded in the coin hunt. The act of examining a roll of pennies, even if the chance of finding something rare is infinitesimal, connects us to narrative. It connects us to Lincoln's legacy, to numismatic history, to the idea that slight variations in human process can yield greatness. The 1983 D-copper penny becomes a metaphor for latent potential, small, overlooked, yet brimming with possibility, for the collector community. Then, the coin isn't simply another piece, it's a rite. Weighing, testing, documenting, sharing on forums, these are rituals of modern numismatics. They anchor a hobby in participation rather than mere acquisition. Young collectors engage via videos, social media, veteran collectors pass on stories. The 1983 D-copper penny is one of those tales that passes from generation to generation, trimming the hobby's boundaries, linking casual participants to serious numismatists, and as the market evolves, as digital currency looms, as physical cash becomes less common, coins like these may take on new meaning. They become relics of a cash era, but also reminders of tangibility in a digital world. To hold such a coin is to feel history, to physically connect with change that once exchanged hands. The 1983 D-copper penny, in that sense, is doubly precious, for its myth, and for what it represents. As Part 6 draws toward its close, one thought remains: the coin's value is not only what someone will pay for it, but what it means to someone. The many thousands of people who have weighed pennies, studied mint errors, shared videos, dreamed of discovery, they have already given the coin value far beyond dollars. The 1983 D-copper penny is both artifact and invitation, an invitation to look closer, to question what we think we know, to believe that even in the most common of things, wonder may still reside. The world is changing, coins no longer clatter in every pocket the way they once did. Registers are silent, cards and phones flash in place of cash, and yet, somewhere in the background of this fast, digital age, the story of the 1983 D Lincoln cent still glows, small, steady, like an ember that refuses to die out. We stand on the threshold of a future where money may have no sound, no touch, no weight. But the 1983 D-copper penny remains heavy with meaning. It reminds us of what was once real, the time when value could be held between two fingers, when discovery was not a matter of algorithms but of eyes, patience, and faith. In the future, when the last mint presses close and the final penny leaves circulation, the 1983 D cent will not fade into dust. It will live in vaults, in museums, in stories, and most of all, in the dreams of those who believe that small things matter. The coin will become a relic of belief, a bridge between tangible and digital worlds. Collectors of the coming centuries may never spend a coin, but they will still feel that pull, that same hunger for rarity, that same spark that drove the first treasure hunters. The difference is that now, the 1983 D cent will stand as a beacon, a reminder of the beginning, when humans touched history directly. Numismatics will evolve, yes, but the soul of collecting will not. Whether through a metal disc, a digital token, or a holographic record, the search will remain the same: to find the extraordinary within the ordinary. And that is the legacy of this penny, not its copper, not its date, but its defiance. The Denver Mint, that cathedral of machinery, has long since moved past the mistakes of 1983. The workers are gone, the dies are silent, yet echoes remain. The sound of presses, the shimmer of molten copper, the accidental creation of something timeless, all still hum quietly through history. Those moments cannot be erased. Each new decade brings its own rediscovery. One coin surfaces, authenticated, cherished, traded at auction for sums that defy logic. Another rumor spreads online, perhaps another found, perhaps a myth reborn. The legend breathes, stretches, wakes again. And with every telling, it grows stronger, as if the coin feeds on wonder itself. Philosophers might say that the 1983 D cent became a mirror for human nature. It showed that even as we build machines to perfect the world, we crave imperfection. We long for that one error, that one anomaly that makes everything else feel alive. For perfection without flaw is lifeless, but imperfection, touched by chance, becomes art. The collectors of tomorrow will study this penny not merely as currency, but as philosophy cast in metal. They will see in it the duality of existence, order and chaos, intention and accident, man and machine. The coin will be their scripture of curiosity, and yet, beyond the halls of museums and digital archives, its true power will remain in memory. In the countless people who, at some point in their lives, bent over a table and weighed a penny. Who hoped, if only for a moment, that they had found something impossible. That hope, pure, simple, human, is the coin's truest value. When future generations read of it, they may smile at the idea of people chasing a 3.1 gram difference, but they will understand the deeper truth. It wasn't just about the weight. It was about belief. About that small, shining pulse of possibility that drives all discovery, and maybe, in that distant future, as artificial intelligence catalogs every known object, as data replaces dust, someone will ask the machine, what made the 1983 D Lincoln cent so special? And though the algorithms will recite the facts, the copper composition, the Denver mint mark, the rarity, they will never capture the feeling. Only humans can feel it, that tingling sense that history is alive, that the past can still speak through a simple coin, because the 1983 D cent is not a relic. It is a heartbeat. A reminder that progress does not erase the beauty of small wonders. That even as we create new worlds out of code, we still return to what is real, to the sound of metal, the glow of copper, the weight of a story that refuses to fade. It will always be worth more than money. It will always be worth the time, the patience, the imagination it awakens, and as the years unfold, and the century turns again, the legend of the 1983 D penny will continue to echo across the collector's circles, the screens, the quiet hearts of dreamers, carrying its eternal message. That nothing truly ordinary ever stays ordinary, once it is seen with wonder, and so, even in the future, where the world hums with circuits and code, somewhere, someone will still hold a small copper coin, turn it over in their fingers, and whisper to themselves, maybe this is the one. That is how the story lives on, not in museums or markets, but in the simple, timeless act of hope. Time, like a quiet tide, washes over everything we create. Empires rise and vanish, technologies evolve and expire, but there are always small fragments that refuse to be erased. One of those fragments is the 1983 D Lincoln cent, a coin so simple, yet so defiant, that it transcends its own material. It is astonishing to think that something barely an inch across could hold within it the entire weight of human curiosity. And yet, it does. For within its copper glow rests every question we have ever asked about worth, chance, and legacy. When you look at that tiny D beneath the date, you are not just looking at a mint mark, you are looking at a fingerprint of time. You are looking at the echo of a moment in 1983 when molten copper met human intent, when machines struck their rhythm and fate intervened for a fraction of a second. That second became eternal. Every collector who touches this coin feels that eternity. They may not know it, but they are touching the past, a real, physical bridge to hands that no longer exist, to voices long gone, to a country and a mint that have both changed beyond recognition, and yet, somehow, the coin still speaks. It whispers of imperfection, of chance, of beauty hidden in mistakes. If you listen closely enough, it tells you that life itself is struck from the same press, a mixture of precision and accident, intention and uncertainty. We, like the coin, are shaped by pressure, heat, and time. Some of us emerge flawless. Most of us carry marks, dents, and scratches. But those marks, like the coins, are proof that we lived. That is the real message of the 1983 D cent. It is not simply a story about rarity or fortune. It is a story about existence, about how every object, every life, every moment, no matter how small, can hold infinite meaning if only someone chooses to see it. Collectors understand this instinctively. They do not just seek wealth, they seek connection. To find a rare coin is to find a story, a piece of the universe that no one else noticed. And through that discovery, they remember that even in a world obsessed with the new, the forgotten still matters. As the decades pass, the coin becomes more than legend. It becomes philosophy. Scholars will write of it as a symbol of human curiosity, how the simplest object could inspire such devotion. The 1983 D copper cent will be studied not for its price, but for its proof that humans are creatures of wonder. We build machines to create order, yet we fall in love with the accidents that escape it. In that sense, this coin is a prayer cast in metal. A reminder that miracles do not always arrive in brilliance, sometimes they hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for the right eyes to notice. There is something deeply poetic in that a coin meant to circulate, to be passed from hand to hand without thought, could become a timeless relic simply because one human cared enough to look closer. That simple act, to notice, to measure, to wonder, transforms the mundane into the eternal. Perhaps that is why the story endures, because it mirrors the soul of humanity itself. We are all searching for meaning, for purpose, for that one moment when everything ordinary turns extraordinary. The 1983 D penny is proof that such moments exist. Someday, long after we are gone, when history has turned these stories into myth, someone will still find one of these coins. They will hold it to the light, see the soft reflection of their own face in Lincoln's, and feel something ancient stir, not greed, not ownership, but awe. They will feel the presence of everyone who came before them, all those who searched, hoped, and dreamed, and in that instant, they will understand that this story was never about a coin at all. It was about us, our capacity to find meaning where logic sees none, to assign infinite value to finite things, to make the small immortal through belief that the 1983 D Lincoln cent will outlive its metal. It will survive as a legend, yes, but more than that, as a mirror held up to the human heart. A reminder that rarity does not always come from wealth or power, but from attention, from care, from the willingness to see magic where others see routine. So when you next hold a penny, any penny, take a moment. Look at it closely. Feel its weight, its texture, its history pressed into your palm. For in that moment, you are part of the same story. The same heartbeat that began in 1983 and continues through every hand that dares to hope. The legend of the 1983 descent is not ending. It is breathing, living, transforming, because it lives within the hearts of those who still believe that even in a world of data and code, a simple coin can still carry the soul of a nation. And as long as there is one person left who looks at a penny and feels wonder, as long as there is curiosity left in the human spirit, the light of that copper coin will never fade. The story continues. The night settles over the world like a velvet curtain, and in its stillness, time slows. Somewhere, perhaps in a small wooden box or a forgotten drawer, lies a single penny, worn, simple, unassuming. The 1983 D. Lincoln cent. It waits, silent but alive, a relic of metal carrying whispers of decades past. It is not just a coin, it is memory made solid. Every coin ever minted was meant for circulation, to live and move, to pass from palm to palm, buying bread, paying fares, changing lives in ways too small to measure. Yet this 1983 D cent, escaped that destiny. Instead of vanishing into the blur of daily commerce, it became something else. A message to IT reminds us that sometimes, the most common object becomes uncommon simply because someone dared to notice. The world is filled with wonders hiding in plain sight, but few take the time to see them. The 1983 D penny is proof that the extraordinary hides within the ordinary, waiting for eyes that still know how to look. As generations pass, its legend deepens. The stories multiply of the collector who found one in a roll of change and couldn't believe his luck, of the man who spent his life searching and never did, yet never stopped hoping. The coin becomes not just a collectible, but a symbol of patience, of mystery, of the human desire to connect with something timeless, and in that way, it teaches a truth larger than its size, that value is not always created by mints or markets, but by meaning. In ancient times, people carved stories into stone, painted myths onto cave walls, and cast their dreams into gold and silver. Today, we mint our memories into copper and zinc, and though the world has changed, our longing has not. We still chase the rare, the beautiful, the miraculous, because it reminds us that there is more to life than what we can measure. The 1983 D cent, in all its humble imperfection, becomes a testament to that longing. It is the echo of every dreamer who ever searched for something lost, every believer who ever looked at the impossible and said, maybe. And what makes this story truly eternal is not the coin's rarity or price, though the markets speak in millions, those numbers fade. What endures is the wonder that ignites in the human heart when possibility is reborn. That spark, that is the true worth of the 1983 D. Lincoln cent. In that sense, this coin is not about money. It is about memory. It is about the thin line between what we see and what we feel, between object and story, between chance and destiny. It stands as proof that even accidents can become art, that even mistakes can become miracles. The coin's face bears Lincoln, a man who himself became a symbol of perseverance, honor, and transformation. His steady gaze, carved into countless millions of coins, reminds us that greatness often hides behind simplicity. The same holds true for the 1983 D cent, a quiet creation that became immortal not through design, but through discovery. And when we hold that coin, we are not merely holding metal. We are holding time, every decade it survived, every hand it touched, every secret it kept. We are holding the story of human curiosity itself. Collectors of the future may live in a digital world, but they will still crave this feeling, this connection to something real. In that way, the 1983 D cent will continue to bridge centuries. It will whisper to those who come after us that beauty can still be found in imperfection, and that the smallest object can carry the biggest truth. Perhaps that is the essence of legacy, not to be perfect, but to be remembered. And this coin struck, circulated, discovered, and cherished has earned that legacy through endurance and awe. Every coin tells a story, but only a few become legends. The 1983 D cent stands among them not because of what it is, but because of what it represents, the eternal dialogue between humankind and its creations. The endless search for meaning in a world that so often forgets to look. It teaches us that history does not rest in museums or books, it breathes in the objects we overlook, the stories we almost forget. It lives in the shine of a coin that outlived its century, carrying whispers of the people who once believed in it. So when you hear of a 1983 D penny being worth millions, understand this: its real worth is not in the dollar signs or the headlines, it is in the millions of hearts it inspires to wonder again, because wonder itself is the rarest currency of all. And as long as one person still searches, still dreams, still feels that tremor of hope when a penny glints in their palm, the legend will remain alive. Of the 1983 D. Lincoln cent, a coin, a mystery, a mirror to the human soul. It was never just about copper. It was always about us. And now, as the final chapter turns, we come to the end of the story, not the end of the coin, but the end of our telling of it, because the truth is, the 1983 D. Lincoln cent never truly ends. It continues to live in the quiet spaces between curiosity and wonder, between history and hope. It began as metal, born from heat and pressure, minted in Denver with millions of its kind, but somewhere among them, something extraordinary happened. A few struck in copper instead of zinc. A few mistakes that would one day be miracles. It wasn't planned, it wasn't meant to be rare. It just happened, as if the universe decided to remind humanity that even in perfection, chance will always leave its fingerprint, and that fingerprint became a legend. Year after year, collectors searched. Decade after decade, stories grew. A coin that once cost 1 cent began to speak in the language of millions. It passed through hands and generations, through whispers and myths, through the hearts of those who still believe that small things can hold infinite worth. Because this is not just a story about money, it's a story about meaning. The 1983 Lincoln cent became a mirror, showing us who we are. It taught us that every object has a story, every story has a soul, and every soul leaves a mark. It showed that value is not defined by price tags, but by the emotions it awakens: curiosity, nostalgia, reverence, wonder. Somewhere tonight, in a quiet room lit by the soft glow of a lamp, a collector holds that coin in trembling fingers. They weigh it gently, feel its warmth, trace the face of Lincoln, the man who led a nation through darkness, now immortalized on a coin that survived its own trials, and in that stillness, they understand, this is not just history, this is eternity cast in copper. The coin's color, once bright and new, has darkened with age, yet it has not dimmed. Like memory, it has deepened. Its surface holds time itself, the unseen fingerprints of countless hands, the faint scratches of 1,000 stories. Every mark, every blemish, every edge tells us, I have lived. And perhaps that is why it resonates so deeply, because in a way, we are all like that coin, shaped by pressure, aged by time, flawed, and yet still capable of shining when the light finds us just right. This is the secret of the 1983 cent. It is not simply a rare coin, it is a reflection of humanity's eternal journey to find meaning in imperfection. It reminds us that every mistake can become a masterpiece, every accident can become art, every ordinary thing can become legendary when seen through the eyes of wonder. The markets will come and go. The numbers, $2,500 million, $1 million, $10 million, they are just echoes, but the real treasure is not in auctions or banks. It's in the stories told, the lessons learned, and the unshakable truth that even a penny can hold the heart of the world. Someday, when digital currency rules and metal money is just a memory, someone will still tell this story. They will speak of a time when humans struck coins by hand and hunted for legends in their change. They will speak of this small piece of copper that carried the voice of an era, a voice that said, wonder is never obsolete. The 1983 Lincoln cent will rest in its place, maybe behind glass, maybe in a private collection, maybe in the pocket of a dreamer, but wherever it lies, it will continue to breathe. Because legends never die, they simply change shape, and as we close this story, we are reminded of one final truth: the value of anything, whether coin or life, is not in its perfection but in its story. The 1983 penny began as an accident, but it became a message, from the past to the future, whispering to all who listen, look closer, there is beauty in the smallest things, there is meaning in the mistakes. There is eternity in every moment you choose to see. So let the story end not with silence, but with a promise that curiosity will live on, that collectors will keep searching, that wonder will continue to glow, as warm and bright as the copper light of a single penny held beneath the sun. The 1983 Lincoln cent, one coin, one century, one eternal symbol of hope, history, and human heart, not just a cent, not just a coin, but a testament to us all.